Otis wants complete space dominance. To that end, the president is creating a new branch, Space Force, which Mark will run.
What?
The Space Force is a relatively recent concept created by our current president, a current branch of government, a branch of the military, rather. But the show doesn't actually mention him by name or mention like the current administration at all. Is that to sort of separate the show from reality, or is that to not give him a little shout out?
I think in comedy that his name is almost like the word Viagra. You know, it's like, it's a bit tiresome. And, you know, and we're not doing like a late night, you know, mocking sort of piece of comedy. We're doing like character comedy, you know, and the intention is that it'll still be valuable and fun to watch 10 years from now. And, you know, so it's really about taking the point of view of the character that Steve plays, which is this military commander, General Mark R. Naird, and putting him in the middle of scientists and politicians. And when you get into the point of view of that guy and the struggles that he has to try and achieve this improbable but very audacious goal of boots on the moon by 2024, the comedy's coming from all the frustrations and the fact that he's over his head. And there's you know, there's satiric elements to it, but you know, primarily it's a character comedy. And you know, it's not a mean-spirited show, I don't think. I think it's, you know, supposed to be fun.
He will always be remembered as a true humanitarian. Fred, when you die for real, can you write more clearly on the cards?
Is my penmanship not good?
No, it's terrible. It's not good
I'm
at all.
sorry about that.
Last night, Jimmy Kimmel did sort of a tribute to Fred Willard, and he reminded me, which I already knew this, but that Fred Willard was originally in a movie called Space Force, and now he's in Your Space Force.
You know what? That's news to me. I got to go look that up. I didn't know that. He was so great and everything. I'm such a fan, and it was a terrible loss. Very sad. Everybody, you know, was so respectful of him and enjoyed him as a person. Steve had worked with him in Anchorman. He had done a voice on King of the Hill. You know, I loved his work. And so I was on the set when he did his first scene in the first episode, and you know, he's 86 years old, and you know, he did the lines as written great, and everyone is aware that he's the world's best improviser. So at the end of it, we said, look, just, you know, do a take where you do anything you want. And I wasn't sure what we would get, you know, but he got there and he just did this 5 minutes of the most brilliant improvisation that wasn't in the script, which was the part that we used in the show, where he talks about crawling under the crawl space and kind of ribbing Steve about his wife. And it just kept going. It was hilarious. And, you know, the crew had to bite their lips to not laugh. And then at the end of it, everybody put their equipment down and gave him a standing ovation, which again, I never see on a set. And I think everybody was aware of how kind of special it was that he was still at the top of his game at 86.